Hello, and welcome to the discussion on securing the bridge between legacy and smart metering. Over the next hour, we will look at how strategic alignment enables seamless integration between trusted prepayment systems and advanced data exchange protocols. You will also gain insight into securely transporting STS tokens using DLMS COSEM, the role of generic companion profiles in driving interoperability, and how coordinated roadmaps are shaping the future of smart metering and token technology. For those of you who registered early for this webinar, you were given the opportunity to take a 2-question poll. So thank you to everybody that did that. Now, for those of you online with us today and who have not yet taken the poll, I will ask you to do so now. To take the poll, you can hold your camera up to the QR code that you will see at the top left-hand side of your screen, or you can click on the URL in the chat. Once you have submitted the first answer to this 2-poll question, the second question will pop up. I see that the QR code is now live on the screen for you. The questions that we are asking are, how would you describe your organization's current stage in smart metering on your journey into smart metering? And then, what do you see as the biggest value of the STS DLMS collaboration? This second question allows for a multi-choice response, so you can tick any that you feel apply. While you take the poll, I am pleased to introduce our expert panel. Lance Hawkins-Dady has spent more than 25 years specializing in the technical prepayment and smart metering sector. Sergio Lazzarotto has more than 30 years experience in smart city and innovation sectors and played a pivotal role in the creation and development of wireless PC peripherals market. Franco Pucci has been involved in the technical aspects of prepayment metering business for more than 30 years. Our fourth expert, Don Taylor, a renowned pioneer in prepayment metering, however, sends his apologies as he's unable to be online today. While we don't have his expertise, his fellow panelists are well versed to cover your questions. So, on that note, I see that our panel has joined the virtual stage, and that I do want to ask everybody that would like to pose a question to our panel to do so using the chat box on the right of your screen. Now, to lay the foundation for our discussion, Lance, what experiences have shaped your leadership approach within the STS Association?
Thank you, Nicolette. As you mentioned, I've been involved in the STS prepayment industry for about 25 years, and I've had the privilege of serving as a director on the STS Association board for more than a decade, and that exposure has significantly shaped the way I see our collective responsibility. During this time, I've seen just how critical STS has been in providing secure, reliable revenue collection for utilities, which has then enabled access to energy for millions of people around the world. It brings a strong sense of responsibility because what we do as an association directly underlines the very systems that utilities and consumers depend on every day. Besides being the custodian of the STS standard, we're also responsible for evolving STS in a way that keeps it relevant, so as to protect the significant investments that utilities have already made. To support that evolution, collaboration with the broader ecosystem is key, including initiatives like our liaison with the DLMS User Association. My approach has been simple, and that is to make sure we, as leaders within the STS Association, continue to support our members and the greater STS user base through this period of transition.
Oh, thank you so much, Lance. Sergio, what inspired your journey into the global metering standard space, and what has kept you engaged over the years?
Thank you, Nicolette. As you mentioned in the reading my bio, I am coming from the PC industry, and I had the chance in the PC industry to participate to the standardization of USB and Bluetooth, which are today one of the major standards which are used almost everywhere in the industry, in the consumer space, and which have been demonstrating that you can share user experiences across several devices, across several market verticals. And clearly, when we look at what was happening when I joined DLMS in 2019 into the energy, let me say that while we were at the beginning of the digitalization, we were still miles away of these concepts of interoperability, or bringing basically the digitalization in the hands of the consumer. And what for me is very important is effectively to try to give and push for that direction of standardization, which is of course and should of course be at the service of the manufacturers, so that they are leveraging their development cost by leveraging platform development instead of just product development. But at the same time, what I am trying to do as well is to push for being or having the possibility of leveraging this digitalization effectively to basically increase the consumer empowerment of how the consumer are using and how the consumer are consuming the energy, the water, and the gas, and so forth. And clearly, the relationship that we have established with STS goes into this direction, because it is effectively highly important to have this possibility of prepayment to bring the decision to the consumer if and when and where they want to spend a given amount of money that it is dedicated for one resource.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, Sergio. You've mentioned quite a few things that we're going to be talking about during the discussion today. And I like that you mentioned Bluetooth. I think everybody's very familiar with Bluetooth these days. It's not something that we were speaking about 15 years ago. So we have seen how the market is changing for every single sector that is out there. And for our discussion today, looking at the metering sector, whether it be water, gas, or electricity, I think that anybody online with us today can take what they're going to hear and share that with their networks, because it will apply to anybody. So, Franco, what first drew you to this field, and what continues to motivate your technical work today?
Thank you, Nicolette. When I first joined the metering development environment in the late 1980s, it was pretty new. For an engineer, this is, I must say, the ultimate challenge. Get something designed, implemented that has never been done before. There were, of course, many challenges that had to be brainstormed, tested and retested and tested yet again, then field trialed and finally implemented. The entire journey was, to me, very exciting and challenging. Exactly what any engineer looks for. So I found it wonderful. It has been an exciting journey since my first day in metering, and continues to be with the advent of smart metering and our partnership with the DLMS UA. I look forward to, well, at least a few more years of involvement in these exciting times. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Franco. I think that you will definitely not be sitting back and relaxing anytime soon. And I just want to remind our audience that we are recording this session, so it will be available on the ESI Africa website for you to share with your colleagues after the event. And also for those online, now is the time to ask these experts your pressing questions. So please do so using the chat box. We do have some questions already that I'm going to now pose to our experts, but as soon as your questions start coming in, we will be looking at that. Lance, from a strategic standpoint, what does this liaison agreement mean for the long-term positioning of STS within an increasingly smart and interoperable metering landscape? Things are just changing all the time, and you have a legacy that has stood in good stead, and now you are looking beyond that.
Thanks, Nicolette. I think you're right. The one thing we can't avoid is change. But from a strategic standpoint, the liaison between the STS Association and the DLMS User Association, I think, reinforces the positioning of STS as a relevant and evolving standard. There may be a perception in parts of the industry that as smart metering advances, technologies like STS will naturally become obsolete. With over 80 million devices worldwide, STS continues to underpin revenue collection. And that is not something that utilities can simply afford to move away from. What this liaison accomplishes is that it removes the notion of competition between standards and replaces it with coordination and synergy between different standards. I think it acknowledges that utilities are operating a hybrid environment and will continue to do so for many years. The focus, therefore, in my belief, has shifted from which standard is better to which standards work together more effectively within real-world systems. I think it's also important to highlight that STS was originally designed with technology evolution in mind. It was never intended to be static. This positions it well to continue adapting and evolving alongside broader industry developments, including more connected and data-driven environments. I believe that long-term view is clear. STS will remain a robust, secure, and widely trusted mechanism for prepaid revenue collection, while continuing to evolve as a part of the wider interoperable ecosystem. This strategy, I believe, again, ensures that utilities are not forced into the disruptive transitions, but are supported as the industry changes through a more practical and structured approach.
Lance, just remind us, when did STS first come into play?
STS was developed in around 1993. I'd have to confirm with my colleagues who've been there since the beginning.
Yes, that's correct. Around about 1993, and then taken to the IEC in about 1997.
Yeah.
Right. So we have quite a few years where you can say, this is what's been happening. This is the historical data within the metering sector. Thank you. Sergio, how does integrating STS token technology into the DMLS COSEM framework enhance interoperability across different metering systems and vendors? I think this is a very important question when it comes to how the vendors need to operate within this market.
Yeah, thank you, Nicoletta. So effectively, what we have been discovering over the years with the deployed install base of these early stage smart meters, at that time we've been realizing that many countries were looking at their own solution, and they were basically requesting from manufacturers to have proprietary solution being developed. Now, while this was the first experience and consequently was followed by some realized errors or identified errors, one of the consequences of this proprietary development mindset or road which was taken at the beginning ended up in creating a lot of difficulties to public utilities which were having or facing deployments lasting for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. The first problem they were facing was related to the fact that certain manufacturers over this time frame they disappeared from the business because either they quit the business or because of merge and acquisitions that were executed or decided to focus in different area of the world, and this drove the public utilities facing two major issues. One was how to maintain the install base, because people that were supposed to be there for helping you to do the maintenance of the install base were not anymore there, and potentially as well having people helping you for the next generation of the product. And therefore, what we decided in DLMS was basically to address those problems. And addressing those problems, what does it mean? It means exactly to what I was saying before, to bring the level of the interoperability going beyond the compliance, going into the compatibility. There is something that is known in the, I would say, IT industry. We talk about the plug and play. I plug it and it plays. I don't have to take care about how it works. It will work. And clearly, the way that we are trying to go for is exactly that one, is to create a standardized platform that are permitting to the consumer or the customer, in this case, the public utilities, to making sure that whenever a device is plugged on the network, it will play. It will do exactly what it has to be done, irrespectively of who is the manufacturer manufacturing it. Now, clearly, there are some people that are eventually claiming that, well, but if we do that, everybody are going to have the same product. There will be no more differentiation, and it will be a barrier of the innovation. No, that's not true, because proprietary innovative solutions which are on top of standardized solutions which are in the field today, those proprietary solutions, if the market are adopting them very well, they will become tomorrow standardized solution as well. And therefore, this is the role of the standardization. And the prepayment and the relationship we have with STS goes into this direction as well, because prepayment is, I would say, a major pillar of that digitalization in the hands of the consumer. And clearly, what we need to make sure that solutions which are deployed today can coexist with solutions that are deployed tomorrow, and those solutions we will deploy tomorrow will be backward compatible with a potential install base. And these are fundamental pillars that have to be taken into consideration when we are doing standardization.
Mm-hmm. You've definitely touched on a point there that people are worried about in terms of standardization and dampening down innovation. But as you've explained, that's not the case. That's not going to happen. So Franco, as at a technical level, how are STS tokens being adapted for structured or structured to be securely transported using DLMS COSEM protocols?
Thank you, Nicolette. Well, the tokens themselves haven't been adapted at all. An STS token is still an STS token. What has happened is the DLMS User Association have given us a gateway. And in that gateway, the STS token is encapsulated, but the token itself is generated in exactly the same way as was before, using secure modules and vending systems that are already in the field. The only difference now is that you need to basically wrap it up in a DLMS COSEM object, send it through via the DLMS COSEM gateway, and it'll reach the meter and behave exactly the same as it did before. One of the benefits of this is you now have essentially two paths to take your token to the meter. You can either still enter it on the keypad. Let's assume, for example, you have a network that's down and you cannot get your token automatically sent via the gateway. Then you can simply type in your token at your meter and you get your credit. Alternatively, of course, for a smart metering system, the token is sent via the head end through the STS approved vending system, which generates it, encapsulates it, and sends it through. So there's been no major changes at all to the actual token structure itself. That remains exactly as specified in the IEC 62055-41 standard. It is just being sent by a different route.
Thank you so much, Franco. Sergio, coming back to you, in what ways does this collaboration strengthen secure data exchange and prepayment functionality within smart metering ecosystems?
I think that this collaboration will reinforce the capability of devices to be used into prepayment ecosystem for various reasons. The first one is making sure that the solutions which are deployed, as I was saying before, take into consideration the install base, if there is an install base, and here there are issues of backward compatibility that will have to be taken into consideration. Ideally, we are envisioning that we would be 100% backward compatible. The reality and the experience have proven to me that this is, while it remains often a dream, but I would say we should be able to limit I would say the features which are deployed in the field that we might have to give up because of backward compatibility issues. That's the point number one. The second one, as we are looking forward, there is one aspect that definitely is something that we will at a given point have to put on the table and make it our focus with STS, and that is the cybersecurity. Cybersecurity is something that is becoming more and more critical within the business into which we are. We are speaking about strategic infrastructures, and as we are speaking about strategic infrastructures, we cannot play with that. And our responsibility is making sure that the solutions, the standardized solutions we are bringing on the market, are offering state-of-the-art, I would say, capabilities to those utilities which will use the standards into product they will purchase. And clearly, this is something that we will look at very carefully as well. And clearly, this can only be done by collaborating together, because on one side, STS has this understanding and this, I would say, these bricks that are permitting the prepayment, and here we speak about mainly electricity prepayment, but the DLMS just recently released the standard for the water smart metering as well, and we have in the pipe, which will be published downwards half of this year, the gas smart metering as well, profiles. And for those three ecosystems, the electricity, the water, and the gas, there are no reason why we should not be able to have prepayment in the water and prepayment in the gas. There are technical issues to be addressed, and those technical issues are the reason why we have been setting up this collaboration, which is our scope, is to address those issues, to make sure that we will be able to bring the prepayment as well into these other two ecosystems than the electricity.
Thank you so much, Sergio. And just a reminder to our audience, if you'd like to ask our panel any specific questions, please do so in the chat. If you have even just a generic question that you want to put to the experts, as well as highlighting something for the audience, you are welcome to do that as well. So Lance, from an industry and regulatory perspective, how important is standardization in accelerating global adoption of interoperable metering systems?
Thanks, Nicolette. I think you've heard my colleagues Sergio and Franco talk quite a lot about standardization, and I think it's quite simple. If interoperability is the goal, then standardization is the only way to achieve it at any form of scale. From an industry perspective, standardization provides the foundation for interoperability, scalability, and importantly, vendor-agnostic solutions. Without it, utilities will be faced with fragmented solutions, proprietary lock-in, and increased integration complexity. And all of this will definitely slow down deployments, increase costs, and ultimately limit innovation. Standards create a common language across the ecosystem, which enables meters, systems, and vendors to operate together in a predictable and reliable way. From a regulatory standpoint, I think standardization brings confidence. Regulators need assurance that technologies being deployed are secure, they're proven, and are aligned with broader national initiatives and objectives. Standards support this by providing transparency, consistency, and a framework for compliance. They also help to ensure that utilities are making investments that are sustainable over the long term rather than tied to a proprietary solution. So, in terms of the collaboration between the STS Association and the DLMS UA, it reinforces the importance of alignment between standards bodies to ensure truly interoperable future-ready systems. So if we're serious about global adoption, then in my view, standardization, it isn't optional, it's essential.
Thank you so much, Lance. And just a reminder again to the audience that we have those 2 poll questions for you to respond to. So if you have not done so yet, please take the poll now. I believe there is something in the chat where you can just click on the link and it'll take you directly to the poll website. And there are 2 questions there, that being, how would you describe your organization's current stage in the smart metering journey? And then the second question being, what do you see as the biggest value of the STS DLMS collaboration? And as our experts have highlighted, there are a lot of benefits to this collaboration. But you might have very specific questions around what is the benefit to you, or how is this going to impact you or your utility? Lance, we have a question for you around how is the STS Association ensuring that utilities can protect existing investments while transitioning towards the DLMS COSEM-enabled environment?
I think this is a very important point. Protecting utility investments has been central to how the STS Association has strategically approached the transition towards smart metering environments. Utilities have made significant investments into STS infrastructure, which may include meters, vending systems, and even internal operational processes. These investments remain critical to revenue sustainability of the utilities. As utilities introduce more advanced DLMS COSEM-based enabled systems into their network, the priority is therefore not to replace these systems, but to extend the value of these systems. It's worth emphasizing that the STS was designed from the outset with technology evolution in mind. That foresight is what allows us today to support utilities as they move towards smarter, more connected environments without requiring them to abandon what already works. I believe our role as the association is to ensure that STS continues to evolve in a way that remains aligned with modern system architecture. That includes supporting interoperability at a system level so that STS environments can operate effectively alongside DLMS-enabled smart metering solutions as part of a broader integrated ecosystem. Ultimately, utilities should have the flexibility to modernize at their own pace by introducing smart metering where it makes sense and protecting their existing investments and avoiding unnecessary costs or disruption. That balance between stability and progress has always been a key focus for us.
Right, thank you so much, Lance. We have another question that I'm going to address to Franco. and that is, what would be the impact on the certification process? From the 1st of January 2026, we started using DTT 1.0. Is there any change in the test suite? And this particular question is from somebody in India.
Thank you, Nicolette. There's obviously very different levels of certification. On the one hand, there's the DLMS certification, which is not done by the STS Association. It's in fact done through other test houses. And then there's the STS certification, which is done by the STS Association through their own test houses. The STS standard has not changed over the past few years, and the certification remains the same. Obviously, certification documents are updated probably once a year. Those changes typically are small. For example, the last one we went through was to remove all 1993 base state tests, which are no longer relevant. But and of course, we have multiple encryption algorithms that can be used. So those documents remain as they were over the past few years. Some tests have been removed, but most of them are still as they were. So there should be very little impact on certification for STS compliance. But of course, whoever has a meter that needs to be certified needs to look at other standards, for example, the DLMS standard, and see if any changes there have resulted in different certification tests that are required.
Thank you so much, Franco. Another question, and this is from a vendor, Sergio. Are there plans to incorporate the new standards into the DLMS GCP? And if you wouldn't mind just explaining to me specifically what GCP is.
Yeah. Thank you, Nicolette. As I was mentioning before, we talk about compliance and compatibility. And as you talk about compatibility, what does this mean? It means basically to be compatible with a very well standardized logical device. Now, what we are doing in our standardization ecosystem, when we talk about DLMS COSEM, you can imagine it as a dictionary, where inside we are standardizing words and different meaning of words. But then we have been going further in the standardization, where we have been starting to write books by using the words defined in those dictionaries. And those books are representative of very specific ecosystem. So we have the smart metering book, and the smart metering book is nothing else than what is called the generic companion profile, or the GCP, which means that we have been using a certain number of classes and objects which were defined in the DLMS core specification. We have been parameterizing them, we have been configuring them, we have been associating them, so that we have been building this companion profile, which is the aggregation of a certain number of use cases. And in that case, we have 21 different use cases, which are representing almost 99% of what the public utilities are needing for their specific functions in terms of smart metering. And the fact that we are doing that, we are, of course, evolving over time, because what is true today in terms of a companion specification, it may not be true anymore tomorrow. However, the version 2, the version 3 of this evolved companion specification we will bring in the market in 1 year or 2 years or 3 years, will have, again, to guarantee the backward compatibility, because this is mandatory, but will as well implement additional functionality. And this is where the collaboration in between standardization association is very important, because we don't have the same evolution cycle within STS and DLMS. There might be features which are coming out in STS where in DLMS we have already published given standards, and the other way around is true as well. Therefore, having signed this liaison, and the scope of this liaison is to guarantee that in due time, when one of the two sides makes its standards evolving, they will ring the bell to the other side, say, hey guys, we have been evolving with our standards. Does our evolution have an impact on what we have done together looking backwards? And does it have an impact on what you are developing on by looking forward? And this is exactly the scope of this liaison. Going further as well in the certification, because in the way we were certifying yesterday will not be anymore the same way as we will certify tomorrow. And as well, the tools which are used for the certification will evolve as well. So this is why this liaison is extremely important, to align the two organizations to basically have the best fit in between the best capabilities of each side to the service of the public utilities and to the service of our member, which in fine are manufacturers.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you so much, Sergio. We have another question, which, Sergio, you seem to have addressed quite extensively already, but the question was, when will we see the next step in terms of incorporating the prepayment feature into DLMS GCP, as well as adopting STS addendums like STS 101.2 and similar into either DLMS GCP on the main STS standard? So I do want to ask Franco if you want to add anything to what Sergio has already said.
Yes, in fact, Sergio made some points that when the STS Association makes a change, or the DLMS UA makes a change, this collaboration will allow us to ensure that the standards gel together. Now, we have what we call companion standards, companion specifications, and the one that was mentioned, 101-2, deals predominantly with the DLMS objects. And in due course, that will either go into the IEC standard, the STS IEC standard, or into a future revision of the DLMS standard. For the moment, it's a companion specification. It is usable. In fact, you can use it now. You may get certified now. We have just introduced the documents for certification for this document. It's brand new, so those out there that do get meters, that do want to get meters certified, need to be a little bit patient. We've only certified 2 meters thus far using that, and may still have 1 or 2 errors. But it's started, the process has started, and it will in due course be merged either into the 62055-41 standard or into one of the DLMS standards.
All right, thank you so much. And Lance, what opportunities does this collaboration unlock for expanding STS beyond electricity into water, gas, and the broader utility services? Lance, you're on mute at the moment.
My apologies, I thought I'd unmuted. I was saying, at its core, STS enables secure, standardized, and interoperable prepayment, but this is not limited to electricity only. In fact, STS is highly relevant, and I think Sergio mentioned it earlier, across other utility sectors such as water and gas, where secure revenue collection is still a primary driver. What this collaboration enables is a more aligned and coordinated approach across the modern ecosystem. As utilities increasingly adopt DLMS COSEM smart metering solutions, there is a growing opportunity to apply STS prepayment principles within those multi-utility environments in a structured and consistent way. As I've mentioned previously, STS is adaptable across different utility types and deployment models. This allows it to be extended into smart water and smart gas applications, building on the integrity and trust that has already been established in electricity. I think the real opportunity, though, is not just expanding into new sectors, but rather enabling a more integrated utility landscape, one where electricity, water, gas, and even time can be managed more cohesively, and where consistent standards-based approaches to prepayment can deliver both operational efficiency and improved customer experience across the multiple services. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lance. Franco, will there be any new certification requirements, especially for DLMS compliance for STS-related products?
Yes, as I mentioned, we have started this process this year. We've done 2 trial tests on 2 different manufacturers for DLMS compliance using the STS 101-2 document. There are compliance documents now published on the STS website. They are brand new, so like I said, you need to be a little bit patient with us. It is the very first set of tests we are doing. All our other compliance documents took a few years to perfect. But given all that experience, I think we'll get to these a little bit quicker than that. But there are different, another set of compliance tests required if you want to get your meter certified to use the DLMS gateway for, and they cover electricity, water, gas, and time.
Thank you so much, Franco. We have a comment from one of the audience members, and I would like to ask Lance to maybe add perspective to this. And the comment is, with the large-scale utility smart meter rollout to replace prepayment and post-paid legacy electricity meters, there is a need to definitely determine the existing installed meter model per installation to plan and scope the program to achieve efficiency. And I think that it is a very relevant comment, especially around the fact that utilities need to look at efficiency.
Yes, thanks, Nicolette, and I absolutely agree with the person who made the comment. We're moving into a new domain of smart metering, and smart metering, defines things like two-way communication. It relies on networks to be up. And it relies on connectivity back to head-end systems outside of DLMS and STS. And understanding the environment in which you are installing these meters, understanding possible limitations within the areas, I think is key to making sure that the move to smart metering is successful.
All right, thank you so much, Lance. And now moving on to a question that I will address to Franco. The 1113-digit meter serial number, DRN, determines the meter OEM from the STSA's first and second, and then first and fourth digit prefixed register. The remaining 8-digit DSN, excluding the last digit, deciphering, needs to be unlocked. Could the STSA request the OEM to facilitate? Franco.
I'm not really sure what that question means. I'll explain what the DRN does. The first 2 or 4 digits are in fact the manufacturer code. Then you have 8 digits, which is a sequential serial number, which the manufacturer sets himself. And then you have a Lund check digit at the end. But I don't quite get the gist of the question. What must the OEM facilitate? Because the OEM is the one that creates the DRN in the first place. So I'm a little bit lost about what the question actually wants answered.
I think
if I can, Sorry, if I can ask the person that put that question in, if they can maybe provide us with a little bit more clarity into that, and then we can address it a little bit later in this conversation. Sergio, as utilities increasingly adopt digital and data-driven operations, how does DLMS COSEM support scalability and flexibility across diverse markets with varying levels of infrastructure maturity? And I think this is something that we need to talk about, looking at different regions, different countries, and even within those countries, the different utilities or municipalities and how they are operating and at what level they are operating.
Yeah, thank you, Nicolette. Definitely, this is a reality that we are facing effectively every single day. Now, it is clear that when we look at DLMS today, when we look at DLMS today, DLMS has deployed more than 350 million of smart meters across the 5 continents. We have more than 400 members. Among those 400 members, there are probably a little bit more than 200, which are manufacturers coming from everywhere in the world. We do have public utilities coming from everywhere in the world, and therefore we have to deal with everybody. Now, is thinking of having a single standard that is a one fit for all, well, that would be a good idea, but is that a reality we can consider? I would say partially, but definitely one thing is for sure, it is that there will be specificities. There will be regional specificities, there might be country specificities, because the legislative framework in different countries, in different zones of the world, are completely different. And those legislative framework are, of course, impacting the standardization work that we are doing. The way how DLMS has been addressing that, it is that since 3 years now, I am spending a lot of time in trying to sign liaison with regional associations that do have the understanding, that do have the expertise of knowing exactly what are the must-have in a given region or in a given state. By taking as an example Africa, in Africa there is the EFSCC, which is the African Standardization Organization that is aggregating 18 African countries. And DLMS, since already 1.5 years, have signed a liaison with AFSCC. And the reason why we have been doing that, it is because the standardization work we are doing in standardizing our generic companion for a given vertical, in that case is the electricity, we know that everything that is inside might be okay to serve Africa, but in Africa, in certain countries, there might be some specificities which are mandatory specificities by the legislation framework, which we have to take into consideration. And the way how we address that is that thanks to this liaison, what we are doing, we are collaborating together by setting up a task force, which will focus only on those country-specific or region-specific items that needs to be standardized, and those will be published as appendix to the core specification. In fine, we will have a core specification that is serving, I would say, 95% of everywhere of the world needs, and those pieces of specificities by region of by country, which are coordinated as part of the big specification, but which are developed together with the regional standardization organization that we are signing liaison with. And this is the way we are operating. And this has demonstrated as well a high value, because then manufacturer, they don't develop a given platform, a given, I would say, software platform for United States, a software platform for Europe, another one for Kenya or for China. What they can do now, they can develop a common platform which has all those specificities inside, and then as they go into manufacturing, they can instantiate the specific deliverable for the manufacturing into the manufacturing for the product, which have to serve one region or another region. And that is a high value for manufacturers because it reduces their development costs and as well their certification costs.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, Sergio. I do want to bring the conversation back to the partnership and the support therein. And I will address the question to both Franco and Lance. And that is, how does this partnership support a more secure and future-ready metering ecosystem, particularly in regions with legacy infrastructure? And there is a lot of legacy infrastructure across the African market. First, let's hear from you, Lance.
Sorry, I didn't quite get the last part of that question.
I'll repeat the question. How does this partnership support a more secure and future-ready metering ecosystem, particularly in regions with legacy infrastructure?
Okay, I think from that perspective, if you look at the liaison and where the industry is moving in terms of smart metering, DLMS is one of the predominant players in that, and then STS, from a security point of view on the transfer of credit, historically has also been a big player. We are merging or creating a liaison where the two standards can work together, which means legacy STS systems are not irrelevant. The infrastructure required to create the STS tokens, the vending systems, the hardware security modules, all the investment that utilities have made can still be used to generate STS tokens, which are now just tunneled into, as Franco put it, the DLMS.
Right. Thank you. And Franco, if you'll just add to that, please.
Sure. I think, we look at regions with legacy infrastructure, they obviously pose a challenge for smart metering systems, since all smart meters are remotely connected in a true smart environment. But with the advent of global connectivity through satellite internet and other global systems, this problem is alleviated, maybe, or soon will be. Maybe not yet, but it will be. I mean, the latest satellite deployed merely a week ago aims to guarantee more than 2 gigabits per second capability to add what it's already got. And this is from one supplier only. The standards developed with this partnership will ensure that these advances in communication infrastructure are included in any advances in the standards, companion specifications and companion profiles, so that implementation of a smart metering system can be catered for, even if the communication infrastructure is not yet available. Therefore, a utility can safely install the smart meters, which he knows will be ready once the infrastructure allows for two-way communications. In other words, the standards can be safely implemented in the smart meters, and then once the infrastructure is up and running, activated to give a full smart metering system. In fact, almost 95% of meters that are sent for conformance testing to the STSA are DLMS compliant already. All they require is the communication infrastructure to become a fully smart metering system.
Well, thank you so much, Franco, for unpacking that a little bit more. And Sergio, are there plans to establish GCP compatibility certification capability on the African continent?
Yeah, I answered on the chat to Sean. Definitely the answer is yes. So effectively, what we are doing in DLMS, we are accrediting test labs as soon as we see that we have reached the level of critical mass that justify a given test lab to do the investment to operate locally. So on our side, we are prepared with the process to accredit test labs. And of course, we are prepared as well to support those accredited test labs, providing them test tools and golden devices to test interoperability as well. So we can manage that. We are ready to do it. The question is now more, I would say, a local business question. As soon as we see that locally, certain local manufacturer or manufacturer which have a food locally may decide to raise the flag that the local test lab is making sense, then we are definitely ready to take it over and to ensure that we offer appropriate support to our industry.
Thank you so much, Sergio. Moving quickly on to the next question, because I believe we are running out of time. Franco, what practical benefits should utilities and system integrators expect to see in the near term as a result of this agreement?
Well, I think we've said quite a bit already as where we want to go, and where we want to go is quite exciting because we are trying to merge the already long established STS prepayment standard with the DLMS standards, which are, as Sergio mentioned, widespread throughout the world, as are the STS standards. I think somebody wanting to go to smart metering but maintain the flexibility and interoperability of an STS prepayment system, this is the way to go. It kind of gives you a solution to both of the problems. One is I want a prepayment system, and two, I want a smart system. What this partnership will do is, in fact, give them exactly that.
That is a perfect response to that question. Thank you, Franco. We've got 4 minutes remaining, and I do want to give each of my experts on the line an opportunity to leave the audience with one final message. And Franco, since we have you on screen centered here, we will start with you. What is the one thing that you want to convey to the audience that they should absolutely remember?
Well, I think it's been mentioned a few times during this webinar, and that is, to me, the most important is interoperability. The South African standard was born originally. It did not work because manufacturers, 3 different manufacturers, all bought their own systems, and it was not practical. This resulted in an STS standard which made interoperability its basic foundation. We've heard from Sergio, we've heard from Lawrence, that interoperability is crucial. And to me, I think anybody implementing a metering standard across the world must pay very, very, very careful attention to this. Do not get locked into a supplier. Rather use a system that you can purchase from as many suppliers as you wish.
Thank you, Franco. And over to you, Sergio. And what is the message from the DLMS?
Well, I can only reinforce what Franco said. The standardization is there not to be perceived as a barrier to manufacture. The standardization is a vehicle of business development for manufacturers. If the manufacturers are using standardized solution, the way to access to their customer, the way to promote their solution to their customer, and the way to convince their customer that what they are proposing is a solution they can trust, they can rely on. This is what is standardization. And I am highly encouraging all the manufacturers, all the people that are concerned by the standardization effort that we are doing. The best thing to do is not to resist to this standardization, because it will cost you a fortune, but rather participate into the standardization. And if you do have some specificities needed to serve your country, come over, discuss them with our experts. We will serve you in the best way. But do not go for proprietary solutions. That's not the way to go. In fine, it will cost you a fortune.
Thank you so much for that final word, Sergio. And last but not least, Lance, your message to the audience.
Look, I can't emphasize enough what Sergio and Franco have said, but if there's one key takeaway, it's that this collaboration between the DLMS and the STS is about alignment and progress. By bringing together the proven technologies of STS and DLMS, we're creating a practical, low-risk pathway for utilities to evolve. It's about protecting what already works while enabling what comes next, and ultimately bringing a more connected, flexible, and future-ready metering ecosystem.
Right. Thank you so much, Lance, for that final word. So I have really enjoyed today's discussion, and I trust that everyone online has gained some new insight into the world of smart metering and how the seamless integration between a trusted prepayment system and an advanced data exchange protocol supports your objectives. So in closing, you are invited to connect with the STS Association and the DLMS User Association to explore the tools, training, and implementation support, and to be part of the global transition from legacy to smart in shaping the future of interoperable prepayment metering. Lastly, thank you so much to Lance, Sergio, and Franco for a lively discussion. So until next time, this is ESI Africa, keeping you curious and informed. Goodbye for now.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye. Bye-bye.